عفى الله عنك يا شيخ. الآن الحجامة يقولون أنها لا تحجم في الشتاء، هل هذا صحيح؟
والله يا أخي أنا ما أدري، لكن مرجع هذا إلى الأطباء الذين يمارسون هذا الشيء.
ما ورد الشيخ أن الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم شيء أنها احتجم أو أن احتجم؟
ورد أن الحجامة من أفضل أنواع الطب.
لا قصدي في الشتاء.
لا أدري.
هل الأعرابي المذكور سماحة الشيخ في الحديث الثاني هو صاحب الحديث الأول؟ الله أعلم.
أبو سلطان من الرياض.
السلام عليكم.
نحايل، تفضل أبو سلطان.
السلام. الله يحفظك. الذي دعوة موسى على فرعون، صحيح أنه 40 عام قال الله عذاب فرعون بسبب أنه بار بأمه يا شيخ؟
شكرا. ما أدري يا أخي، ما أدري هذا. نعم
شكرا.
ثم كما ذكرنا في الآية السابقة أوجب ربنا عز وجل على القسم الثاني من المجتمع الإسلامي وهم العلماء أن يجيبوا، ولا يجوز للعالم إذا سئل عن مسألة وعنده علم بها إلا أن يجيب عليها، لقوله عليه الصلاة والسلام في الحديث المشهور الصحيح: من سئل عن علم فكتمه ألزم يوم القيامة بلجام من نار. ومن آداب السؤال نقول بهذه المناسبة أن يسأل المسلم عما يتعلق بحياته، سواء حياته الخاصة بنفسه أو بأهله أو بمن يلوذ به أو له علاقة ما به، وألا يتعمق في الأسئلة عن أمور خيالية أو بعيدة الوقوع، فإن اشتغال المسلم بالواقع خير له من أن يسأل عن شيء يتخيله ولو أنه يتصور أنه قد يكون. لأن من أدب علماء السلف رضي الله عنهم أن أحدهم إذا جاءه سائل يسأله عن مسألة قال المسؤول: هل وقعت؟ فإن أجاب بنعم أجابه بما عنده من علم، وإن قال لما تقع لسه ما وقعت قال انتظر حتى إذا وقعت سألت، وحينما تقع فلا بد أن الله عز وجل يسخر للسائل من يفتيه بعلمه. لهذا نقول من الآداب أن نسمع الآن الأسئلة ونبدأ فيها بالأهم فالأهم ونجيب عليها بما يسر الله عز وجل، مذكرين لكم بأنه ليس من المفروض في العارف أن يجيب عن كل ما يسأل عنه. وقد جاء في بعض الآثار السلفية أن من أجاب عن كل ما يسأل عنه فهو مجنون، لأنه كما قال تعالى: وما أوتيتم من العلم إلا قليلا. فإذا عجزنا عن الإجابة عن بعض الأسئلة فلا يستغربن أحد منكم ذلك، لأن هذه طبيعة البشر الذين طبعهم الله عز وجل بما سمعتم في الآية السابقة: وما أوتيتم من العلم إلا قليلا. ولذلك أيضا جاء في بعض الآثار: نصف العلم لا أدري.
يقول فضيلة الشيخ: بالنسبة للشركات التي تقيم في منطقة معينة قد تصل إلى 20 سنة، إلا أن العمال يعملون شهرا بشهر، وعليه فإن الشركة
يعملون شهرا بشهر،
يعني شهرا يعملون وشهر إجازة يروحون عند أهلهم، وعليه فإن الشركة لا تخلو من العمال، فهل تجب على هؤلاء الجمعة؟
لا أدري.
آخر يسأل عن المسجونين: هل تجب عليهم الجمعة إذا كانوا في زنزانة أكثر من 3؟
لا أدري.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم
كيف حالك؟
السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
كيف
How was
حالك
it?
يا أبا يوسف؟
الحمد لله. How are you يا أبو معاوية?
بخير ولله الحمد minna. Alhamdulillah, we're back here with the live Fatawa readings from the Mashayikh regarding the Muslim child and matters related to children. Today, inshallah ta'ala, we have some interesting topics that I sometimes get questions about, like celebrating birthdays, also hanging amulets upon children, taking pictures of children as they read Qur'aan or as they worship Allah Azza wa Jal, and matters to do with the Ruqyaa and the jinn and having children. So inshallah ta'ala, it'll be a beneficial majlis for us, inshallah ta'ala.
Inshallah, the birthdays is a classic one.
No. And to have an answer from one of the scholars based with some evidence is going to be beneficial for us, inshallah ta'ala.
Inshallah ta'ala.
Last week, throughout the week, I've seen on our YouTube, just to talk about the response that we received, is I got about 200 views. It's not much, but it's a lot, 200 views. And my family even told me that she had some friends or people from her job that were looking up certain matters related to not being able to have children and such, and our question popped up number one on the search engine, mashallah.
MashaAllah.
So that was nice. As far as who saw it on Facebook and Twitter or anything like that, I'm not really sure, but on YouTube, then we have around 200 views, mashallah.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
No. So, okay, let's start bi'idhnillahi ta'ala with the first question. Is the celebration of children's birthday parties considered to be the imitation of Western disbelievers, or is it entertainment for the spirit and a form of entertaining happiness into the heart of the child and his family? So this question was asked. This question was answered by Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah. He says the celebration of birthday parties is of two types. Either it is a form of worship or it is a custom. So it is a form of worship or it is a custom. Ibadah or ada. He says, number one, if it is a form of worship, then it is an innovation in the religion of Allah. It is affirmed that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam warned against bid'ah, warned against innovation, as it is misguidance. For he sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Be aware of innovated matters, for every innovation is misguidance, and every misguidance is in the fire." If it is from, and he said two, if it is from the custom, then there are two prohibitions linked to it. A, the considering of a normal day as a holiday. This is a form of preceding Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as we have affirmed a holiday in Islam that Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam have not legislated. When the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam made hijrah to Medina, he found that the Ansar had 2 days within which they used to celebrate and consider as holidays. He sallallahu alaihi wasallam then said, "Verily Allah has exchanged them for you for that which is superior, Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha." The second way that it is a form of, a second way that is prohibited is that it is an imitation of the disbelievers. For this custom is not from the customs of the Muslims. Rather, it has been inherited from others, and it is affirmed that the Prophet ﷺ said, "Whoever imitates a people, then he is surely from amongst them." Also, it is not praiseworthy for a person to be of many years in age, except if they were spent in the pleasure of Allah, the most honorable and the majestic, in his obedience. For the best of people is he whose life is long and deeds virtuous. And the worst of people is he whose life is long and deeds corrupt. For this reason, some scholars disliked the supplication for a long life without being specific. They dislike that it should be said to a person, Abqaq Allah, may Allah extend your life, may Allah keep you, except that it be specified, for example, that he say, Abqaq Allah fi ta'atihi, may Allah preserve you or keep you in his obedience, or Abqaq Allah fi khair, may Allah extend you your life in good, or something similar to that. This is because a long life could be bad for a person. For a long life with bad deeds, and we seek a refuge from Allah, is evil for a person. It is an extension in his punishment and an evil consequence for him, as Allah the Most High said, وَالَّذِينَ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا سَنَسْتَدْرِجُهُم مِّنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ وَأُمْلِ لَهُمْ إِنَّ كَيْدِي مَتِينٌ. And those who reject our signs, we shall gradually seize them with punishment in ways they perceive not. And I respite them. Certainly my plan is strong. And the Most Glorious has also said, وَلَا يَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّمَا نُمْلِ لَهُمْ خَيْرٌ لِأَنفُسِهِمْ إِنَّمَا نُمْلِ لَهُمْ لِيَزْدَادُوا إِثْمًا وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ مُهِينٌ. And let not the disbelievers think that our postponing of their punishment is good for them. We postpone it only so that they may increase in sinfulness, and for them is a disgracing torment.
SubhanAllah, this is a really important one. The first part where the Sheikh said there's two different types of celebrating the birthday. Can you just mention the first one again?
The first one is that it's a form of work. If you are celebrating the birthday as a form of worship, you think that you're doing ibadah, then this is an innovation in the religion. As Allah, as the Prophet ﷺ has warned against innovation, and it is misguidance, since he said, beware of innovative matters, for every innovation is misguidance, and every misguidance is in the fire. That's number one.
Right, okay. So we know that, for example, the celebration of Christmas, this is a religious celebration and a birthday celebration. Is that what the Sheikh was referring to, do you think?
Well, Christmas, if you're celebrating the birthday of a prophet or of Isa, or some people celebrate the birthday of the Prophet.
Okay. Yeah.
Or whatever. If you think that you're doing it as an act of ibadah, then this is innovation in religion.
Yeah.
And if you're doing it as a
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No.
I like to in the UK when I came back to the UK after becoming a Muslim, these are the kind of things that you struggle with, because it's kind of like baggage from when you were not a Muslim.
No.
And then when you kind of dedicate yourself to following the Qur'an and the Sunnah, you say sami'na wa ata'na, yani khalas, this is what I'm committed to.
No.
It can be quite challenging, for new Muslims, because you're in that context where people are celebrating. They go, what's the problem? It's just that, we're just being happy about this, we're just being happy about that. But subhanAllah, if you look at what I learned personally, this is just my observation, is, always look at the asl of something, the origin of something, where did it come from? And, are you really fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or are you just fearing his creation and the fact that they'll be judging you rather than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So, just an observation from my side there.
No, just to break it down, the first time, like you said, birthday celebrations are one of two types. Either it's ibadah or it's an ada. It's an act of worship or it's a custom. If it's ibadah, then the Prophet ﷺ didn't do it. Therefore, it's bid'ah and we stay away from it. If it's an ada, then it's prohibited from two angles. Number one, it's considering a normal day as a holiday. Right? And the Prophet ﷺ exchanged, he said that Allah exchanged for you those 2 days for 2 superior days, and those days became acts of ibadah, right? So, number one, considering a normal day a holiday, and number two, imitating the disbelievers. And if that doesn't fit you, which we have ibadah. The Prophet ﷺ didn't do it. Khalas. B, it's a custom. So since it's a custom, then it's prohibited from two angles. Number one, making a regular day something special, which it isn't. And number two, imitating the disbelievers, because the Prophet ﷺ didn't celebrate his birthday, the Sahaba didn't celebrate theirs, and so on. And if that doesn't satisfy you, then what are you celebrating? Have you spent this last year in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Do you know more Qur'an this year than you do last year? Have you spent and read more books this year than you have last year? Because having a long life and celebrating this has no merit. The only thing that merits is doing good deeds.
I remember I was having a discussion with one guy who was trying to present the opinion about not all forms of alcohol were impermissible. He tried to present this, and he said he had a sheikh. I said, fine, man. And so I went through everything with him, and then at the end, he was hell-bent on believing what he wanted to believe. So I just told him the words of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if you're not ashamed, then do as you wish. You know, if you feel no shame. So khalas, it's the same with here. As you said, if you present all the evidences and everything, and you can take a horse to water, you know, but you can't make it drink. So that's not for us to, you know, push people that far. All we can do is, advise with the Quran and Sunnah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.
You want to take the next question for us?
Yes, sir. So number 10, in our country, Egypt, we have a custom that is every person, when he ages a year of his life, he holds a party, and we call this a birthday party or extinguishing of the candles. I have heard lately that it is not permissible according to the Sharia. Is this deed really not permissible in the Sharia? And is it permissible to attend these parties if one is invited to one? Please enlighten me. Thank you very much. And Muawiyah will give us the answer by Sheikh Ibn Jibreen. Tfaddal ya Muawiyah.
He said, rahimahullah, he said, this is a bad custom and an evil innovation that Allah has not legislated. For festivities and holidays are dependent upon evidence, just like all forms of worship. It has been related in a hadith that the people of Medina during the times of Jahiliyyah used to celebrate two holidays, and that Allah exchanged these for them for two legislated holidays. It is not related what is known as a birthday party in the Sharia, and none of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ practiced it, or any of the early generations of the Muslims. So it is not permissible according to the Sharia to celebrate these occasions or to attend them, or to encourage those who perform them, or to congratulate them, or other such activities that support this evil or affirm it.
SubhanAllah. Yeah, this can be tough for people, like I said, from the social pressure. But I don't know what you found in your experience, but in my experience, because I work in an American company, I've always worked, with many different types of people. Not everyone's a Muslim. And I try to just show the akhlaq of the Muslim, and I'm not going to stand there waving my finger saying, I ain't coming to your birthday, you mubtadi' or something like this. I'll just be, please don't be offended if I don't come with you, but it's a religious matter, and that's it. No. Just leave it at that. And then usually it starts a discussion. Same thing with things about music and other such things. It can instead of being an uncomfortable thing, it can be a means to da'wah.
No. And I mean, just you add it up, like when you just mentioned it could lead to other things like music, even though it wasn't addressed in these two questions that we have here. If you add to the celebrating of the birthday to the fact that most of the time music is going to be played, most of the time there will be intermixing or intermingling between men and women in these types of gatherings, and whatever else might take place, from haram matters that are outside of the act of celebrating itself. Both of these answers are related just to the fact of celebrating birthdays. But then what happens when you add all the other prohibited actions along with it? It just multiplies the severity of the action.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Subhanallah.
I think birthdays are clear, inshallah.
Inshallah. Inshallah.
Okay, this question scrolls down to the next page, but you can read it and I'll move it for us.
You want me to read this one?
Yeah.
Okay. So question 11. There are a group of students who have memorized the Qur'an, who gather every year on the occasion of the birthday of the most blessed of mankind, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in the burial chamber of one of the most pious friends of Allah. During this occasion, children are circumcised and money and other things are given in charity to the students. After the delegations of people have left, the students divide the money amongst themselves, each according to his level and honor amongst them. There is he who sells the charity given at an increased price. One of them would say, for example, "O students, what have you placed into the collection cloth?" So they reply, "We have placed health into it, or wealth, or pious children, etc." It is then sold at a high price, which is many times its original value. They then buy with this money sacrificial animals that are sacrificed inside of the tomb. The students stay there for a week and complete reading the whole Qur'an many times each night. They pray inside the burial chamber, bearing in mind that the tomb is inside the chamber and the chamber is inside a graveyard. What is the ruling concerning this deed? Is it a deed that draws one closer to Allah, or is it a deed that has no origin in the Sharia? Please give us a verdict. May Allah reward you with good. SubhanAllah. That's I won't say anything. I'll just listen to the response.
Yeah, the thing about it is that I'm not gonna talk about the answer, but a lot of the reading this question seems like no Muslim asked that, subhanAllah. But that's because we grew up in a environment that's somewhat saved from us. I mean, living in countries where they've been Muslims for 1,000 years and they've had all these innovations built up in them, you tell a new Muslim birthdays are haram. It might be hard on him to hear that, but he also realizes, okay, I left kufr. Maybe it is haram. You know what I mean? He doesn't know. But you got somebody who's been a Muslim for 1,000 years and I all celebrate the birthday. It's hard for that person to hear that because my grandfather did it and his grandfather was a sheikh of the masjid. And so these types of innovations come and build up into the point where, subhanallah, are you serious? So I mean, the question itself is almost unbelievable.
It is, yeah. I've actually spoken to brothers from, I won't mention the countries, I don't want to offend anyone or make them think I'm singling out someone or a particular country, but I've made comments like you just made previously, and the brothers will say, no, man, in my country, people visit graves, people worship graves, they have tombs with graves in them. So, subhanAllah, I think in certain parts of the world, it is unfortunately quite common.
No. So let's see what the permanent committee they say. They say all praises for Allah alone, and may the salat and salam be upon the Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, and his companions. Firstly, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is our prophet and our beloved one, and the most blessed of the children of Adam, no doubt in that. He is the seal and the last of the prophets, the one sent to all people. He is the first to intercede on the day of resurrection, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But to celebrate his birthday is an innovation, because he himself did not do this, nor did he legislate this for us. The rightly guided Khalifas did not do this, nor did the rest of the companions, radiyallahu anhum, ajma'een. And they are the most knowledgeable of this ummah concerning his sharia. They have the most love for him amongst the believers, and they are the most eager to obey him and venerate him. For if the celebration of his birthday were permissible according to the Sharia, they would have performed it. This is not related from him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or from them, for it is a fabricated innovation. It has been affirmed from him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he said, whoever innovates in this matter of ours something that is not from it will have it rejected. Related by Bukhari and Muslim. As for celebrating this in the burial chamber of one of the pious or in his presence, then this increases this matter in innovation and excess in the veneration of the pious. This is clear misguidance. Secondly, circumcision of children is from the natural instinctive sunnah, and charity wipes out sin as water extinguishes fire. The Sharia has encouraged both of these and has called people to perform them. But performing these on a yearly occasion at the tomb of one of the pious and sacrificing animals there is a shirk-based innovation. This is a pagan ritual of ignorance, for these deeds consist of taking a tomb as a place of worship and the pilgrimage of those seeking blessings. As is apparent from their yearly journey to the tomb to have their children circumcised, their giving in charity, and their sacrificing of sacrificial animals there. Thabit ibn al-Dahaq radiallahu anhu said, a man vowed to sacrifice camels in the place of Bawana. So the Prophet ﷺ asked, were there idols there from the idols of ignorance that were worshipped? He said, no. He then asked, was it a place of festivity from their places of festivities? He said, no. So the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, fulfill your vow, for there is no fulfilling of a vow that amounts to the disobedience of Allah, nor in that which is not owned by the son of Adam. Narrated by Abu Dawood. Thirdly, the remaining of these students inside this tomb for the period of a week during which they read the Qur'an, completing it a number of times each night, is another innovation. Also, the reading of the Qur'an for the dead upon their graves is from among the evil innovations. Fourthly, their prayer inside the burial chamber, which is in a graveyard, is forbidden and void, meaning batil, according to the Sharia. This is because it is taking the graves as a masjid, and the Messenger ﷺ cursed those who did this. From this, it is clear that the deeds you have mentioned in your question are a chain of evil shirk-based innovations. It is upon the one who witnesses this to disown it and to change it with his hand. And if he cannot, then he should change it with his tongue. And if he cannot, then he should change it with his heart. This is because the Prophet ﷺ has said, he amongst you who witnesses an evil should change it with his hand. If he cannot, then with his tongue. And if he cannot, then with his heart. And this is the weakest level of Iman. Narrated by Ahmed, Muslim, Abu Dawood, Nasa'i, At-Tirmidhi, and Ibn Majah. With Allah as the success, may he bless and send peace upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, and his companions.
Makes you really thankful to have some knowledge of, Tawheed and Aqeedah when you read a question like this. To be on this kind of level of, to be asking a question like this means, the environment you're in, or maybe the knowledge you have. I don't know, subhanAllah, but it's quite frightening, this question. I imagine that the ulama, when they answered this, were saying, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, subhanAllah.
I look at the answer and I say, okay, celebrating the birthday, bid'ah. I could answer that clearly. Praying in the graveyard, bid'ah. The dead don't hear the Quran, bid'ah. Everybody getting together to read the Quran all together in one night. You read a juz, you read a juz, you read a juz, bid'ah, like this. All of these things I could answer, but one thing they mention in here, he says it, and this is from the why the ulama answer these questions, even though it wasn't emphasized, I'm emphasizing it, and that is all of these things are innovation, along with the pilgrimage that one has to make to this place to perform this action. SubhanAllah. I mean, you have to say, I'm not going to circumcise my kid until such and such night. You know what I mean? I'm not going to give and I'm going to travel to such and such grave to do it. So not only is it venerating this person, we know this is related to shirk and so on, but also the traveling to this place and the pilgrimage, to there is a point that wallahi I would have maybe not even thought about, you know.
Subhanallah, صح. إنما الأعمال بالنيات.
No. طيب. Clear, inshallah. Question number 12, Ya Aba Yusuf. This is for you. This is for you, mashallah.
Yeah, exactly. In Britain. Some scholars in Britain see it permissible to take pictures of worshippers while they are attending the congregational prayers and of children whilst they are reading the Qur'an, because these pictures, if printed in magazines and papers, could have a positive effect on non-Muslims and encourage them to find out about Islam and Muslims. I can assure you it's not just in Britain.
No. But the question was probably from Britain, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, the permanent committee says about this: all praises be to Allah alone, and may He send blessings and peace upon the Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, and his companions. To proceed to take pictures of creatures with souls is forbidden, whether it is a picture of a human being or an animal, or whether it is of a worshipper or of one reading the Qur'an or other such deeds. This is because the prohibition that is firmly established in authentic hadith. Hence, it is not permissible to print pictures in magazines, newspapers, or newsletters, even if they are of Muslims performing wudu or reading Qur'an, whether it be in hope of spreading Islam or as an encouragement to become acquainted with it and hence accepting it. This is because it is not permissible to use the forbidden as a means of spreading Islam. The permissible means of media are many, so they are not to be left for the types that are forbidden by Allah. The present situation in the Muslim countries is not evidence as to its permissibility. Rather, it is forbidden due to the authentic evidence concerning this. Therefore, it is necessary to disapprove of the taking of pictures in accordance to this evidence. May Allah bless and send peace upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, and his companions.
I remember back in the UK, I've still got it on my bookshelf over there. I bought like quite a big, thick book on in English on the ruling on pictures and all that kind of stuff. And I had a lot of pictures and things from years ago. It was the same with music for me. It took me some time back then to really, and these are all hadith from very strong sources, and you know, it just all tied together, and then you have to kind of just accept it in the end. You have to go, khalas, sami'na wa ata'na. I mean, I got rid of a lot of pictures I had, you know, but you know, you get to that point where, subhanallah.
No.
And it's everywhere. Everyone's doing it, and it's almost like, well, everyone else is doing it. But subhanallah, yani, this is why you know, Islam came as a stranger and it'll leave as a stranger.
The present situation in the Muslim countries is not an evidence to its permissibility.
Exactly, 100%. Everyone's doing it, so it must be okay. You know, that's not a good a good way to approach the fiqh of something.
Yeah, I had one brother tell me, man, I told him about something he had in his house. And he told me, man, Sheikh so-and-so visited me and he didn't say nothing was here. He was here. Who are you? You know?
Right.
I said,
no, but there's different approaches.
No.
Like I'll give you a very good example. There was the brother that actually introduced me to Salafiyya. I used to invite him to my house, you know, and he'd stay with me. And back then I still had CDs of music everywhere. I still had pictures everywhere. I still had my like guitars and stuff. And but he didn't say anything. And like he kept visiting me, and then slowly we'd be reading Sahih Bukhari and we'd be discussing stuff and going to the masjid. And then eventually you will come across this issue and you'll say, I'm going to ask this brother what he's. I said, brother, what about this? And the second I asked him, khalas, and he says, the brother asked me now. He invited me to ask him. I'm going to tell him. This is how, you know, and this for me was really good da'wah.
No.
Because some people, when you tell them without being invited, it can cause them to, you know, to double down. And it depends on the person, you know, it depends on the person. Some people.
Your relationship with that person.
Yeah, very much.
If
Yeah,
it would
it
have been
depends on a
someone
lot
you
of
grew up your whole life, if you would have been someone you spent, middle school with and high school with and college with, but you just haven't seen them in 5 years, and then they told you about Islam, they could have maybe told you everything was haram first day.
Maybe, yeah.
Because you trusted them and you know them, but the problem is we I don't know you and I'm going to tell you everything, subhanAllah.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. This is what, this is why there's, in da'wah, giving da'wah in the street, you see a lot of videos and, the way people approach da'wah, and you think, subhanAllah, and there's more hikmah involved, required in a lot of these people, which is why when we look at the shuyukh and the way they answer these questions, Barakallahu Fik, Abu Muawiyah, for this, I think one of the things people should really focus on with this is look at the question and look at the way the ulama answer, the hikmah the ulama have from the knowledge they have and the way they've been applying it in their lives and teaching Muslims. And
even if you were to tell
so many Muslims and seeing how they react to their questions, they've honed their, the way that they react. SubhanAllah, it's
And even if you were to tell someone this, and it was, say, early, and mean your opinion, that doesn't mean you have to beat them up for it if they don't follow it right away.
No, exactly.
I remember Sheikh Salim was in America, and inshallah, maybe it'll come up in our future readings of Fatawa Islamiyah. But in the masjid we were in, it was relatively a very small masjid, and they had just kind of rehabbed it. And all around the top of the masjid was Ar-Rahman, Surat Ar-Rahman, on wood, like engraved or burnt in wood and painted like this. So they asked the Sheikh, is this from Islam? Because, some Salafi brothers had told them it's not from Islam.
Right.
And Sheikh Salim said, no, this is bid'ah. It's not the Qur'an was not meant as the decoration. No one's reading it. At the same time, you guys shouldn't go around causing no problems for the administration if they don't take it down. You guys shouldn't go around making it a big deal and saying Sheikh Salim told us bid'ah, you're a bid, like this. So, even if you end up telling someone this fatwa, which might be in a period that's too early for them, that doesn't mean go around beating them up over it. Allah knows best.
Right. Yes, exactly. Allah.
Next question is related. You want to read it?
Sure. Is it permissible to keep photos of young children picturing half or the whole body for preserving a photo album and not for hanging on the walls of the house? Please enlighten us in this.
The permanent committee, they said, all praises be to Allah alone, and may he send his blessings and peace upon the messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family and his companions, to proceed. It is not permissible to keep photographs, even if they are not hung on walls or other such places, except for in identity papers, passports, money, or other such documents, for the need necessitates this. This is due to the words of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to Ali radiallahu anhu, do not leave a picture except that you have effaced it. May Allah send blessings on the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family and his companions, and send peace upon them as well. Simple. Some people say, well, I'm not hanging on my wall, I'm just keeping it in a photo album.
Yeah, one of the other hadith which is really important here, I can't remember it, I'll just remember what I can, recant what I can, is that the malaika don't enter the house of one who has statues. I can't remember the full, but the pictures, statues, these kind of things can be a cause of the lack of blessings to enter your home, because the blessings, how do they come in and get carried up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? If the angels are not coming in, then who have you got in your house? The shayateen, the jinn, subhanallah.
Imam Nawawi and other than them, they speak about this hadith because some people have tried to cast a doubt about it. What about those angels on the right and the left, right? That are always there recording your deeds. They say, no, these angels are always there. These angels, they don't ever leave you, ever. Nothing you do, they ever leave you. The angels who are not entering here or entering when they say angels don't go here and don't go there are the angels who pray for you and ask for forgiveness for you and like this, you know. But those angels that are on your right and left, writing down your good and bad, they're not praying for you. They're just there for one purpose.
Yeah, they have a very well defined role.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're there, and the other angels are not entering. Why would you not want an angel to come enter into your house? You might be reading a book with your family about Islam. This is a halaqat al-dhikr. The angels there's certain angels who search just for these halaqat, and because you have images, because you have a dog, then they're not going to enter.
Not going to come in.
Subhanallah.
Yeah, but you usually find this with a lot of these, let's say, deviant groups and sects. They focus in on one hadith or one ayah of the Qur'an, or a very limited set of texts or something, and then they interpret them according to the way they want to. But when you bring everything and put everything on the table, they don't want to consider the things which go against what they want to follow, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
I think this is another case. Like if you take, you know, all of the text, the understanding of this, and you say, well, yeah, this hadith is weak, but you know, if you look at everything, and this is why we need the ulama, because we're not able to do that, you know, unless you've studied and you understand it and you speak Arabic properly, and you know.
Sheikh Abu Salat, just the program I told you about a couple weeks ago, where he was reading the books of Bin Baz, rahimahullah, and articles of Bin Baz. He read the article about pictures and images. And in the beginning of his reading, before he started the actual text, he said, the ahadith regarding the prohibition of images are more than the hadith about placing your hands on the chest.
SubhanAllah.
More than the hadith about raising your hands in takbir, saying Allahu Akbar. You know, so why are you ignoring this? I used to tell people all the time when we talk about, for example, one thing that people might have a problem with is isbal, having your pants, your lower garment above your ankle. Yeah. Now they don't care anymore because it's a Western style, so they think it's cool, you know. But
yes.
I used to say, man, the hadith, you know, Sheikh Saleh, rahimahullah, he wrote a book on it, and he brought all the hadith. If I remember, there were like 52 hadith, if I'm not mistaken, regarding isbal. I said 52. If the Prophet ﷺ told you something once, wallahi, you listen. If he repeated it over and over and over amongst a period of 10 years, because the first 13 years he just dealt with tawheed. You know, the last 10 years, I mean, at least 5 times a year, he was telling somebody on average, right? 5 times a year on average, he was telling somebody about their pants legs, you know, and are their lower garments. And so this shows the importance of this issue. Yet the Prophet ﷺ said, "Innamal a'malu binniyat." Everything is by intention. One hadith, one Sahabi heard it, and you quote that every time you want to dismiss something. Allah knows what's in my heart. Actions are by intention. He told this to one Sahabi one time, and now you want to quote that like it's you know the most valuable thing in the world. But these 50 statements of his, you just ignore them.
Yeah, it's the other thing which frustrates me with, I guess what you would call Ahl al-Hawa, is let's take the example you just gave there, like having your pants or your trousers above your ankles. The other one is the eating of pork. So why am I bringing these two up? So what people will say, especially non-Muslims, no, they didn't eat pork back then because, you know, they didn't have refrigerators. And pork meat is specifically, you know, one of those meats that, you know, and they come up with all this stuff. And the other one for isbal is they say, no, because back then they didn't have carpets and floors and, you know, your clothes would get dirty. It's like, okay, you're just making stuff up. I mean, that might be a reason. But I mean, we go with like Qur'an and Sunnah. So when people say to me, why don't you eat pork? I say, because I believe the Qur'an is a revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he said so. Bas khalas, yani I don't if he explained it to us, then alhamdulillah. But if he didn't, khalas, yani I don't need to سمعنا ما أطعنا. I think I said this 3 times already in this thing.
No. هذا هو. I remember when we have gatherings in America, there's some every semester a group of college students comes for like 5 or 6 weeks in a row. 5 or 6 weeks in a row, they're a different group coming from the same college. And so there's about 50 or 60 students. And I tell that when it comes to the question and answer section, we tell the people, listen, the answer I'm going to give you for every answer you give me is because Allah said so.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If we have a wisdom to that, then I'm going to share it with you if I have the ability. But the answer is because Allah said so. And it reminds me, and we took that from one of the Salaf who said, it is upon Allah to reveal, upon the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam to convey, and upon us to submit. That's it.
Yeah.
Why? To search out the hikmah is an innovation. Many of the people said in the past to search out the hikmah is an innovation.
Yeah. Like the, the bid'ah of, saying when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says he has hands and people say, no, he didn't mean that. What do you mean he didn't mean that? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is capable of explaining himself the way he wants, SubhanAllah, man. He's got hands. I don't know how his hands are. He just has them. Khalas. And that's what he said. What do you want from me?
That's it.
Allah musta'an.
الكيف مجهول والإيمان به واجب والسؤال عنه بدعة. No.
SubhanAllah.
طيب, question number 14. This is another long question here. You got it?
Yeah, sure, no problem. I got this. So question 14. I got married on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah 1403 to my cousin. On the first day of the blessed month of Ramadan 1405, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed upon me a child and I called him Musa. Then in the month of Sha'ban 1406, my wife had a miscarriage in her third month. In the Rabi' al-Awwal 1407, my son Musa passed away. As I have already mentioned, my wife is my cousin.
I'm sorry, I hit the button. I'm sorry.
My wife, as I mentioned, my wife is my cousin. Hence, after the death of my son Musa, my aunt, who is my wife's mother, came to me and said that she had been to see a man who has knowledge of the book. She then added that this man had informed her that there is a group of jinn who are killing my wife's children out of jealousy and malice for her, and that he can expel this. If you just move up a little bit. And he can expel this group of jinn, but my aunt refused. Then on the 3rd of the month of Sha'ban last year, 1407, Allah bestowed upon me a baby girl. And I named her Mastura. On the second day after her birth, she passed away. SubhanAllah. I then insisted on visiting this man, and likewise my father persuaded my wife that we should visit this man who can exorcise these jinn. She then asked for a respite, as it could be that Allah, the most glorious, would guide me as to what to do. All praise be to Allah, the one who guided me into writing this letter, hoping from him, the most glorious and the most high, that he may guide you in your verdict in this case, for it causes me much insomnia. SubhanAllah.
So the permanent committee,
heavy test, man. SubhanAllah.
Big test. The permanent committee, they said, all praises belong to Allah, and may the salat and salam be upon the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family and his companions, to proceed. You have done well in not visiting this man who claims knowledge of the book with your aunt, for he is a soothsayer. And you have also done well as to ask the people of knowledge as to the solution. It is incumbent upon you to recite Islamic Ruqyaa upon yourself, your wife, and upon any children that are bestowed upon you. You should read upon them Al-Fatiha and the last 3 surahs relating to seeking refuge. These last 3 surahs should be repeated 3 times. At the end of each recitation, you should spit lightly into your hands and then rub their faces and their whole bodies. You should then make the following supplication. أعيذك بكلمات الله التامة من كل شيطان وهامة ومن كل عين لامة. I seek refuge for you in the perfect words of Allah from every shaitan, vermin, and from every blaming eye. We advise you to buy the following books: Al-Adhkar of An-Nawawi, Al-Kalima al-Tayyib by Ibn Taymiyyah, Al-Wabil al-Sayyib by Ibn al-Qayyim. For these books contain many beneficial supplications and incantations. May Allah send blessings and salat upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, and his companions.
Is there something else I can help with?
Maybe you can put those books in the if you split these up into videos, it would be good to have those books maybe in the comments, so that people can.
No.
People like me, I can refer to them because I don't think I have all of those books, so that would be really useful.
Give me a second here. We'll throw it in.
Oh, that's good. SubhanAllah. Yeah, this is these kind of things are fascinating to people because it's the unseen, isn't it? And SubhanAllah, I've bought so many books on this and read so not stories, but supposed real life. There we go. Barakallahu feek. Yeah. I think, what's his name?
Not At-Tayyin, but Kalima At-Tayyib.
Tayyib, yeah, sure. Bilal Phillips, I think he did he wrote something called The Exorcist Tradition for his PhD or something like that. I've got that. I haven't read it through, but
no,
I've seen some of the stories. It's quite frightening what can.
The issue with that is, for me, I have the book at home in America, and I got the PDF. But the issue with that is people get that and then think they can do it. I know so many brothers who try to do this exorcism stuff. And I tell them, man, especially now that I'm here, even in America, I knew some like pretty famous du'at and stuff like this, and then we've had a couple of mashayikh visit America. I said, when the mashayikh visited America, the sheikh himself, he didn't do it. One particular sheikh, he didn't do it, and none of these du'at are doing it. They're all more knowledgeable than us. Now that I live here, I don't know any of the mashayikh here who do exorcisms. Not Sheikh Falah, not Sheikh Salam, not Sheikh Abu Salah, not Sheikh Nuristani, not Sheikh Hamid al-Hajri, not Sheikh Khalid al-Qatan. None of them. Who are we now going to go start reading on somebody and saying they got the jinn? SubhanAllah. I think that should be left to the experts. And of course, that's his doctoral thesis, so maybe he's an expert, but not for me,
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of if you like your morning adhkar and your evening adhkar and things like eating however many dates it is, 7 dates, is it, or 10? I can't remember the hadith. But there's, one of the books I've got over there, there's so many things that you need to do to, to properly protect yourself on a daily basis.
The adhkar of the Prophet, the adhkar of the Prophet for the morning and the night. The adhkar for going in and leaving out of all the different places and all these things are protection in and out of the masjid, in and out of the house, in and out of the bathroom, in and out, all these things, subhanAllah. If we take this back to a question that was a part of an answer that was given earlier about using pictures for dawah, one of the answers was it's not permissible to use. He said. وسائل البلاغ المشروعة كثيرة. The ways of calling to Islam that are legislated are many. فلا يعدل عنها إلى غيرها مما حرمه الله. So don't go. It's not permissible to go or to switch with what Allah didn't make permissible. So the same thing here. Why would I go to a soothsayer? Or why would I do all these other things when what he gave me is sufficient? The things that, how many things we know are legislated? How many sunnahs are there that we don't do because we don't have the time, or we say we don't have the time, yet we enter a bid'ah into what we're doing?
Oh, yeah. SubhanAllah. I remember when I was learning basic fiqh, I was listening to a cassette back in the days when they had cassettes from our friend Shaykhana Abu Usama, may Allah preserve him. And he put it really nicely. You know, I'm sure it's from, you know, lessons that he learned himself, but this was so useful to me. So hopefully I'll share it here, and it will make you know, useful for someone else. There are two affairs: the religious affairs, or the ibadat, and the dunyawi. Ibadawi and dunyawi, the two affairs. Which this is how he broke it down. So he said everything in ibadah, like praying 2 rak'ats of fajr, praying 2 rak'ats of sunnah before fajr, like the number of rak'ats, this is legislated. So everything there is fixed by the text. You can't change it. It's haram to change it.
No.
So this is ibadah. And then in the dunya, I mean, I know you know this, Abu Muawiyah, I'm just sharing for the other people. But the dunya is, everything is halal, except what was what the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu, or Allah, or his Prophet sallallahu told us is haram. So, and he mentioned that the dunya, almost everything is halal. Like there's so many things in the halal. If you compare the halal with the haram is like a tiny little amount. But pretty much, you know, most of the things in the dunya are halal. But in ibadah, it's the opposite. You know, you can't. So this for me made a huge difference in my understanding of how not to extract rulings, but to understand rulings. And I think these basic kind of things in fiqh are, you know, really, really, really important.
When I did my video on TikTok that blew up about pictures, you know, drawing images, somebody wrote, they said, so you're stripping away the imaginations of these kids. There goes the imaginations of these kids. You just took it away from them. I said, actually, if you think about your statement, it's quite the opposite, because now they can draw anything and everything. They don't have to use their minds. Now I've restricted them, and now they have to use their minds. Now they have to use their minds. You know what I mean? It ain't just free to them. They have to find a new way to make what was already done better, you know?
But this was a non-Muslim asking you this?
I don't know. You know, who asked me about the images? I don't know who it was. I think it was a Muslim, but whoever made the comment, I'm not sure.
If you think of it from a logical perspective, right? This question, so if you work it back and you say, okay, they're asking me this question, wow, so you're doing this. You're saying, no, I'm following the text because that there's a hadith that says this. And if there's a hadith that says this, then it's because the Prophet Muhammad said it, and it's because the Prophet Muhammad was the messenger of Allah, and it's because I believe in Allah. That's why I'm saying all this stuff. I'm not just making up random stuff to make my life difficult. This is literally because I believe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created everything that exists, and He knows how it works. So this is best for us. You might not like it, but this is just what we believe as Muslims. You know,
No.
SubhanAllah, it's part of the test.
No. Yeah,
we should invite Richard Dawkins on here, man. See what he would say.
Inshallah. he died, didn't he?
Dawkins? Maybe maybe his soul died, but I don't know about his body.
Yaqub asked us, is the evening and morning adhkar in Hisnul Muslim sufficient? Alhamdulillah, even in the footnote of the translation of this book here, it mentions that fornication of the Muslim, Hisnul Muslim, has been translated. So of course, any of these adhkar are sufficient. But also you should know that adhkar of An-Nawawi is translated. Also a Kalimat Tayyib of Ibn Taymiyyah is translated, and Al-Wabil As-Sayyib is translated. So all of these are translated. You're not just
Allah knows best. I mean, I really don't know the answer to this question, but I think that there's reference in the Qur'an. I can't remember the ayat, but you know, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about remembering Him in the morning and the evening, and the adhkar that is in. I mean, subhanallah, ya akhi Abu Muawiyah, ya akhi, subhanallah. If you read some of these adhkar, like I posted one on TikTok the other day, like I give you an example. يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك أستغيث وأصلح لي شأني كله ولا تكلني إلى نفسي طرفة عين. Like if you translate this, you can probably do a better job than me. But the meaning is so beautiful. And you know, if you ponder on the meanings of these things, what is it? Don't leave me to myself, even for the blink of an eye. You know, and you're supplicating to Allah by His names, His most beautiful names. These, subhanAllah, man, if you repeat this in the morning and the evening, and as you said, when you go in the bathroom, out of the bathroom, in the house, out of the house, remembering Allah. I remember one of the students of Sheikh bin Baz talking about, may Allah have mercy on, talking about how if he wasn't talking, he would be making dhikr. Like they would literally, his tongue would be moving constantly, even if someone was asking him a question. Maybe even it was you that told me this, but subhanAllah. And Allah knows best.
Let's read the last question for today, and then we can maybe answer some of the comments. That's the last question. We answered that one.
Yes. Yeah, it's the next one down. Yeah.
There you go. Get it for us, inshallah.
Is the writing of the ayat of the Qur'an that pertain to seeking refuge in Allah and other such ayat, and then hanging them around the neck, shirk or not?
No. This question answered by Sheikh Ibn Baz, rahimahullah. He says, it has been confirmed from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he said, "Inna ruqyaa wa tama'im wa tawala shirk," that incantations or ruqyaa, amulets, and charms are shirk. This is narrated by Abu Dawood, Ahmed, Ibn Majah, Ibn Hibban, and Al-Hakim, who authenticated it. Also narrated by Ahmed along with Abu Ya'la and Al-Hakim, who authenticated it upon the authority of Uqba ibn Amir radiallahu anhu, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "He who wears an amulet, may Allah give him no success, and he who wears a shell as a charm, may Allah grant him no peace." Imam Ahmed also narrates it from a different path from Uqba ibn Amir radiallahu anhu with the words, "He who wears an amulet has made shirk." There are many hadith that bring this meaning, an amulet that is hung upon children or others with the intent of repelling the evil eye, jinn, or sickness or other such ailments. Some people call it a charm and others call it jamia. They are of two types. One, those that consist of the names of devils or bones, beads, nails, letters, or other such things. This type is forbidden without a doubt due to the abundance of evidence that indicates this. It is a type of a minor shirk, as in the aforementioned hadith and similar narrations. But it can also be a major shirk if the one wearing the charm believes that it protects him or cures him from the sickness or repels calamities without the permission and the will of Allah. The second type is those that consist of ayat of the Qur'an, including prophetic du'as and similar to them of good supplications. The scholars have differed concerning this type, for some of them have said that it is permitted, stating that it is a type of permissible Islamic Ruqyaa, while others have forbidden it, and assisting their stance with two pieces of evidence. The first evidence for those who prohibit it is the general meanings of the hadith that forbid the wearing of amulets, warn against them, and rule upon them as being shirk. It is not permissible to exempt any specific type of amulet as being permissible except with a legal evidence indicating this. However, there is no such evidence to indicate any kind of exemption. As for Ruqyaa, then many authentic hadith have indicated that there is no harm in those consisting of the ayat of the Qur'an and permissible supplications. This is as if they are in a, or this is if they are in a legible language, and the incanted one, the one who the Ruqyaa is done upon him, does not depend upon them. Rather, he believes that they are a method from the many different methods of therapy. This is due to the words of the Prophet ﷺ, where he said, "There is no harm in Ruqyaa as long as it does not have shirk." And the Prophet ﷺ used to do Ruqyaa, as did some of his companions, and he said, "There are no Ruqyaa except from the evil eye or from the fever." The hadith regarding this are many. As for amulets, there is no mention in the hadith of any exemption for a particular type. Hence, it is necessary to forbid them all, abiding by the general evidence. The second evidence is sadd al-dara'i', the blocking of the means that leads to shirk. This is a great principle in the Sharia. It is known that if we permit amulets containing ayat of the Qur'an and a hadith, that the door of shirk would be opened, and permissible amulets would be confused with forbidden ones. It would be hard to distinguish between them except with extreme difficulty. Hence, it is obligatory to close this door and to block this pathway that leads to shirk. This is the correct opinion due to the strength of its evidence, and Allah is the one who gives success.
Yeah, I think I won't mention who it was because, but I got a great benefit out of one of the explanations of Kitab al-Tawheed. This was back in the early 2000s or late 1990s when this guy did it. I don't really want to mention it now just for because I don't, maybe it's not the best person to listen to, but yeah, if you get a good explanation of Abu Muawiyah knows what I'm talking about. If you get a good explanation of a Kitab al-Tawheed, these kind of things will be very clear to you, inshallah, because beautiful book, as well as Sharh what's it called? Aqidat al-Wasatiyya Tahawiyya. Yeah.
Now,
fundamental reading.
Now, one thing here that wants to be mentioned, there's a hadith that's mentioned in here. There is no ruqya except from the evil eye or shirk. So someone might say you can't read ruqya except for these two matters. Then Shaykh Uthaymeen, rahimahullah, he was asked about the explanation of this, and he says that the apparent meaning of this hadith negates the permissibility of ruqya except in these two matters, the evil eye and the fever. However, ruqya has been narrated in other circumstances. For example, before retiring to sleep, the Prophet ﷺ used to spit lightly into his hands and read the surahs of the Qur'an relating to refuge, and then he would wipe over the body parts that he could reach. This is a form of ruqya, and it is not from the evil eye nor from fever. So the meaning of this hadith seems to be, as the Sheikh says, that ruqya should not be sought from anyone else except for the case of the evil eye and the fever, meaning where you're maybe not able to do it yourself due to what the evil eye has done to you, or fever has come over you, then you may not be able to do it. So then you might ask someone to do it. But other than that, you shouldn't ask. But ruqya, other than the evil eye and the fever, has been affirmed in the Sunnah of the Prophet.
I had one of the books behind me, but no, it's not there. It's in my book tree.
Sheikh Falah has a book on a ruqya, inshallah. We, in the coming year, inshallah, we hope to get to it to translate it because it's one very beneficial book, mashallah.
MashaAllah, mashallah.
No.
Allah yarhamu.
Okay, so a question here was asked by Fatima. When do you say the evening adhkar? Even though we're not here to answer other questions outside of our study here, it was related to we did mention this. And what we've learned from our teachers is that the evening adhkar start after Asr until Maghrib, or even up until Isha if you forgot them. But after Asr is the time, inshallah, between Asr and Maghrib is the time for the evening adhkar. This question is related by Fatima as well, but it is related to us. What is the position on pictures? Then we brought the fatwas of Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen and Sheikh Ibn Jibreen that they are not permissible. Pictures, whether you take them with your camera or draw them with your hand, they're not permissible to do, nor are they permissible to keep. They're not permissible to have except for something that appears on money, because you have to have money. Not that they should make it, but the money has a picture on it, so you keep it. You have a passport, a driver's license, a state ID, civil ID, whatever the case might be. Those things which are necessary. But as for keeping pictures, even if they're not hung on walls and they're kept in photo albums, and I say, Abu Muawiyah, even if it's kept in your phone, then it's not permissible unless it's for those purposes. Yaqub commented about what we were talking about earlier. People say, why does Islam make everything haram? But really and truly, there's so much halal, there's so much halal things, but people beautify the haram things. This is true. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Hujibat al-jannah bil makari wa hujibat an-nar bil shahawat." Kama qala sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that Jannah was surrounded by disliked things and hellfire was surrounded by desires, right? And as Abu Yusuf shared with us, people say, why you prohibit pork? Listen, man, you can eat cow, you can eat chicken, you can eat rooster, you can eat turkey, you can eat duck, you can eat sheep, you can eat goat, you can eat camel, you can eat horse, you can eat peas, you can eat green beans, you can eat corn, you can eat beets, you can eat cauliflower, you can eat broccoli. You're gonna pick on pork. We said pork.
There's a
man,
lot of stuff you can eat, man. There's a lot of stuff, really. Come on.
Yeah,
and even like people when we travel, if you're of the opinion that you don't want to eat anything for fear it's haram. Like I remember I went to Italy once for 3 weeks on a job, and I ate tuna and vegetables, and I was okay. So I think living without pork isn't gonna. Living with pork might in actual fact kill you. Allah knows best. I don't know.
Were we created to eat every flavor in the world? Were we created to conquer, Gordon Ramsay's menu? Were we created for? No, we were created to worship Allah Azza wa Jal. If we treated eating the way eating deserves to be treated, that we're eating only to strengthen our bodies for physical worship, to worship Allah, then we wouldn't have a problem with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited or made just halal, because all we're supposed to do is strengthen ourselves.
Sahih. And just a final thing, I think you mentioned Gordon Ramsay because of the beef Wellington, huh?
hey, leave my beef Wellington alone, man.
Man, it's awesome, man. I saw the pictures, man. MashaAllah. No, that's right. The what's the ayah in the Qur'an? وَمَا خَلَقْتَ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Exactly as you said. Didn't create mankind or the jinn except to worship me. So, as you said, Allah knows what's best for us to eat so that we're strong enough to worship Him. And alhamdulillah.
Enough that the Prophet ﷺ said you eat enough to keep your backbone straight. I remember one of the Salaf, I read about him, it said that he was offered a piece of fruit from a foreign land. And he said, no, I don't want to eat it. They said, but you'll never see it. He said, that's exactly the point. I'll never see it again. Why eat something that I'll never be able to get again? I caused myself, and now I have a desire to try to get it, to go see it or anything. Why introduce that to myself?
SubhanAllah. I have this problem actually because in Indonesia, my wife's from, Yusuf is from, not just Indonesia, but they have this thing called durian. It's like a big spiky fruit, and it's very, very heavy. Yeah. I mean, if it drops on your head from the tree, I mean, may Allah help you. It's very heavy, and so you're opening up. It's got these big, like yellow, fleshy things inside it. I mean, I absolutely adore it, and it's exactly like you said. If I'd never tried it, I probably wouldn't know, but. Now, like every now and then, we'll talk about it, and you'll be yearning for it, but you can't get it much here in Kuwait. So,
no.
Wow, subhanAllah, that's some interesting one. I didn't think of that.
Jazakumullah khairan to everyone, inshallah ta'ala. We'll be back next week for more questions. Inshallah, we'll conclude this chapter related to belief. All these questions that we've had have been basically been related somehow to belief or ibadah and such. So we'll finish those, and then after that, bi'idhnillah, we'll start the chapter which is related to naming the children. MashaAllah. So we'll be able to read those Fatawa. One more week about questions regarding belief, iman, aqidah, and then we'll get into the naming of the children bi'idhnillah ta'ala.
Inshallah.
Jazakumullah khairan ya Aba Yusuf.
وإياك يا أبو معاوية.
And giving your beneficial ta'liqat.
Inshallah. I hope people will take benefit from it more than any misguidance from the multiple mistakes I constantly make.
Inshallah. Whatever we said is correct is from Allah and His Messenger, and whatever we said is incorrect is from ourselves and from Shaitan. And we seek refuge in Allah from that. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.